These bags that I had water sitting inside, I just basically flipped them upside down and sat them on the wire rack, let them drain out. And you can see the grain inside has hydrated quite a bit. It actually looks like the size of the grains that you would get if you had boiled the grain ahead of time. And this particular block, it actually soaked up so much water that there was no water standing on top, and not a lot poured out, so it probably took in about 1 or 2 cups of extra water. And if you notice too, it may look like the grain has no colonization on it, but it's just the outside of the grain where the mycelium has been beat down. But it'll grow back quick. So I'm gonna go ahead and encase these 3 with more hydrated lime pasteurized coconut coir. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'll leave one and not close it back up, just to see how it pins through the coconut coir, see what it does. But these other 2 I'm gonna case and then close back up till I start to see pins. And then I'll open them and let the pins start going. I finally noticed today that the coconut coir on these ones have, well, the mycelium is finally broken up through the top of the coconut coir. You can see the white on the inside there. And I think I'm just now starting to see some signs of pinning triggers going on the side here, so won't be long for that. But I really got a good feeling that this is going to be what my mushrooms are lacking. I can actually see where it's swelled out quite a bit too, so it's increased in volume. Because I'm pretty sure that all these blocks I've made at all these blocks that I cased at 2 weeks are still going to be too dry on the inside and probably give me results like these older ones over here did. I've gone ahead and started misting the top once every morning to add back some moisture. And you know, obviously my surrounding in here I try to keep anywhere between 75 and 80% relative humidity. So, and I've always seen, you know, I still see water droplets somewhere, and I've squeezed the casing even before I misted it just to make sure it still had moisture, which it did, but I just think the king oysters probably want a lot more. These blocks that I stripped the vermiculite casing off of and recased it with coconut coir, you can see they're just starting to pin. So it definitely works. It's staying moist, although I've decided to mist all the bags that are open once in the morning with the hose mister. And not a whole lot, just enough to re-wet the very top of it. I think it's going to help even with these bags that I did not dunk. You see they're making as many pins, but we'll see if the pins all fully develop. But it's a lot more moist in there. You can see them growing out of here too. So if the block is too dry, you're definitely gonna have to mist it with the casing. What I'm wondering though is if these ones where I've soaked the block and cased it, if I'll even have to mist it because there's so much moisture in it. I had to poke a hole in the bottom of them all because even turning them over, letting them drain out, there's still some water that gets trapped in there and collected in the bottom of the bag, and I didn't want all that excess water, so I just took my shears, poked that small hole in it, and the excess kind of poured out onto the trays here, and I just mopped it up. You can see it's already dried away. And all these bags I soaked are recovering really quickly too. Almost fully white again. See, it's taking a little bit longer to get down to the bottom because it's wetter, but it'll fully colonize. Here's these blocks that got soaked and core cased. And which I cut the tops open when they started pinning, and you can see they're pinning up through the core just fine. Actually, I haven't misted these because I keep seeing all those beads of water in there. So as long as I see the beads of water on top of all the pinning mushrooms, no need to mist. That means there's plenty of moisture in there. So I think that's going to turn out really well. The nice thing about this coconut core is it changes to a light brown color very quickly when it gets semi-dry. That way you can tell when it's ready to mist and re-wet the top. And these ones, let's see, where are they? These ones back here where I have the wax paper, you can see they're growing up well through it. The ones down here, the wax paper that got dunked, are working too. It's like a bit better. You see a large mushroom already there. Things are looking quite a bit better this week. These bags I've been misting every morning. You can see they actually put off a decent flush this time. There's 6 good mushrooms in there. Some of them are a little bit inconsistent, but you know, that's what I've been having with the problems where I think it's the internal moisture. But misting the top is definitely necessary with an undunked block, that's for sure. Now these ones that I had wax paper on, I removed that off because it was starting to cause problems where the paper was just falling apart and I was getting mushrooms that were too cut off from fresh air and were starting to regrow mushrooms on top of mushrooms, so it was getting to be a mess. But otherwise it looked like they're doing alright. A couple big fat ones there. And I'm missing these twice a day just because they have no casing on them. And these blocks, if you remember, were dunked, so the internal moisture is definitely helping in this situation. And even though misting with these, it's like you can see where these mushrooms are coming off a bit stunted on the vermiculite. It's like you can mist them pretty hard, but if the moisture isn't there in the block, it's still going to have trouble. So I'll just keep it as wet as I can and hopefully get a decent flush out of them. And then anything with vermiculite still on it, I'm gonna, strip it off, refill the bags full of water, and let them soak again overnight. Drain the excess water, and recase it all with coconut core. Here's the first bags of coconut core, doing well. Not soaked, but I'm missing the tops in the morning like the vermiculite. And they'll probably do as well as the undunked vermiculite blocks. And here's the one I'm really looking forward to, the dunked core casing one. Lots of pins. See, it stays pretty wet when the block is fully hydrated. It's like I might even not have to mist it every morning, but it'll drink it up. And then the other two back here look about the same. So it'll probably be about 2 weeks before I get any results with that. And like I mentioned before, I really like how the swelled up hydrated grain stretches out the plastic on the side, where there's just really no room like this, this business right here with mushrooms growing off the side. There's just no space for that to happen. So if it does pin, it's gonna pin towards the top anyhow. So yep, 2 weeks. And I really hope this is gonna be a big mound of wall-to-wall mushrooms.